Ethan Miller's heart skipped as his eyes widened at the screen. An email flagged in red read, "Offshore accounts discovered, your oversight required immediately." Panic slammed into him. This wasn't routine. He had seen discrepancies before, small enough to dismiss, but now the proof screamed danger. His hands shook as he tried to navigate the buried spreadsheets. A sudden alert pinged, his badge access revoked. "What? How?" he muttered, staring at the office turnstile. His co-workers passed obliviously, headphones on, their faces neutral, unseeing. Ethan realized he was suddenly alone, exposed, and hunted. After the shock, Ethan sat in his apartment, the city lights bleeding through half-drawn curtains. He replayed every detail of the morning, heart racing. Could someone else have noticed the emails? He tapped at his laptop nervously, considering the files he had discovered. Fear mixed with moral obligation. Silence felt like complicity. He thought of his younger sister, living off loans, oblivious to corporate machinations. "I can't let this slide." But doubt gnawed. Exposing the truth could ruin him, maybe even destroy his family's stability. Yet his conscience screamed louder than fear. Ethan reviewed the financial statements again. Every offshore account now stood like a red flag in the spreadsheets. He noticed transactions disguised with subtle codes. "They've hidden billions." His phone rang, a blocked number. Hesitation. Finally he answered, "This is Ethan." A distorted voice warned him to stop digging. Panic surged. He whispered to himself, "I can't stop. They can't win." Anxiety and determination collided. The apartment felt smaller, oppressive. Every shadow, every flicker of light seemed like surveillance. Ethan realized he had stepped into a dangerous labyrinth with no exit. The next day, Ethan arrived at the office cautiously. Ard had left him a cryptic note, "We need to talk. Today." Anxiety tangled with anger. His colleagues whispered but averted eyes. The betrayal of silence was suffocating. Ethan's mind raced, every step monitored, every gesture analyzed. He wondered who could be trusted. He replayed the morning's events, every decision, every observation. Morality and survival collided. He decided he would uncover the truth piece by piece, no matter the personal cost. His chest tightened with resolve. There was no turning back now. Ethan sat in a small conference room, HR across from him, expression unreadable. "We just want clarity," they said. Ethan's pulse throbbed. Every word weighed like a potential trap. He nodded, measured, but inwardly strategizing. He had found discrepancies, and every instinct screamed caution. The corporate labyrinth tightened. Emails, spreadsheets, hushed conversations, every fragment now mattered. He felt both empowered and endangered. Ethan's resolve hardened. Truth would surface no matter the risks. Silence was no longer an option. Action had become inevitable. Ethan's eyes darted across the office corridor, shadows stretching under the dim overhead lights. The whispers felt louder today, the glances sharper. Every keystroke echoed in his mind like a warning. The HR note burned in his pocket. He rehearsed responses to questions he feared might come. His heart raced as he realized he had to access the secure archives without being noticed. Every step was calculated, every glance measured. The stakes had escalated overnight. If he was caught, consequences would be immediate, severe, and irreversible. Yet curiosity and conscience outweighed fear. He reached the archive door, keycard in hand. A subtle beep announced access granted, yet the air felt thick with anticipation. Inside, rows of shelves stretched endlessly, files stacked meticulously. Ethan's pulse thundered. He carefully extracted a folder, marked International Transfers, Confidential. Every step was deliberate. One wrong move would betray his presence. He rifled through documents, scanning numbers and names, heart hammering. His eyes caught a familiar name linked to offshore transactions. Realization hit. The web of corruption was larger than he imagined. The danger had become personal. Suddenly, A shadow moved behind him. Ethan froze. A security guard, mid-40s male, imposing, glanced briefly but didn't stop. Ethan's mind raced. He had seconds to decide: hide or continue searching. Sweat formed at his temples. He ducked behind a shelf, heart pounding. Silence enveloped the archive, punctuated only by distant footsteps. The folder felt heavier in his hands as he whispered reminders of the risks. Every document was a thread in the corporate labyrinth, pulling him deeper into peril. He knew he was being watched, yet the truth demanded discovery. He steeled himself to continue. With the coast momentarily clear, Ethan resumed his search. Names, dates, and transactions blurred together, each more incriminating than the last. He discovered a pattern, linking executives to hidden offshore accounts. The network's breadth astounded him. His hand trembled as he documented evidence with his phone. Every ping, every notification felt threatening. He paused, listening. Silence, relief, and tension coexisted. Ethan realized the archive was a treasure trove of proof, but also a trap. One careless move, and months of preparation would collapse instantly. He resolved to exit with the evidence intact. Ethan slipped out of the archive unnoticed, heart pounding. The elevator ride felt endless. His reflection in the polished metal walls reminded him of the stakes. Outside, the city was indifferent, lights shimmering against the night sky. He tucked the folder securely under his arm, feeling both victory and fear. Each step toward home was cautious, each glance over his shoulder calculated. The documents were proof, yet also a beacon for danger. Ethan's mind raced with strategies. The truth was within reach, but the cost could be devastating. There was no turning back. Ethan returned to his apartment, the folder hidden beneath his coat. Every creak of the old floorboards sounded like an alarm. His mind raced, reviewing each discovery from the archive. Outside, city lights flickered through the blinds, painting fleeting patterns on the walls. Inward, he carefully laid out the documents on the table, studying connections between executives and offshore accounts. The implications were staggering. He realized exposing the corruption could destroy lives and careers, including his own. Despite the fear, he knew inaction was impossible. The first step was planning the leak. He contacted Maya, investigative journalist, via encrypted video call. Her expression mirrored concern and excitement as he detailed the evidence. Every pause heightened suspense. Ethan explained connections, offshore accounts, and potential whistleblower risks. Maya's determination shone through. She vowed to assist him safely, proposing a plan to publish discreetly while ensuring protection. Ethan felt a cautious relief, yet fear lingered. The stakes were higher than ever, and the network could retaliate. They agreed to coordinate tonight, preparing for exposure that could shake powerful institutions to their core. Night descended as Ethan ventured toward a safe drop point. His coat flapped with each step, footsteps echoing against empty streets. Every street lamp cast elongated shadows, reminding him of the lurking danger. He checked over his shoulder continuously, aware of potential surveillance. The folder, his lifeline and burden, pressed against his chest. He paused near the designated spot, listening to the quiet hum of the city. One wrong move would compromise everything. Yet the need to act outweighed fear. Ethan steeled himself, determined to hand over the evidence to Maya without attracting attention. At the meeting point, Maya appeared from the shadows, alert and cautious. Ethan handed her the folder with a trembling hand. They exchanged quick nods, signaling understanding. Suddenly, headlights swept across the street, tension spiking. Both froze, eyes locked on approaching danger. A black SUV slowed, engine humming menacingly. Ethan's heart pounded. Maya whispered to move quickly. Together they ducked behind a nearby wall, adrenaline surging. Each second stretched endlessly. The folder now symbolized truth and survival. They knew the network would not let this pass quietly, but exposure was inevitable. Minutes later, Maya secured the folder in her bag. Ethan exhaled, muscles tense, eyes scanning the street. They moved cautiously, slipping into side alleys, avoiding the SUV. The city's hum felt distant, as relief mingled with lingering fear. They had evidence to reveal, and lives depended on careful execution. Ethan knew this was only the beginning. Powerful forces would retaliate. Yet in that moment, he felt a fragile victory. The truth was no longer hidden. Courage, risk, and resilience had converged, and the corrupt network faced exposure. The first chapter of justice had begun. Ethan returned home, heart still racing from the night's encounter. The city's lights blinked through his blinds, casting shifting patterns across his apartment. He replayed every moment. The SUV, the shadows, Maya's steady hands. The folder now in safe hands, he wondered if their plan would succeed. Yet the looming threat remained. Powerful figures knew the evidence existed. He feared retaliation, but inaction felt impossible. He sipped lukewarm coffee, staring at the wall, realizing the coming days would test courage, trust, and endurance like never before. Decisions tonight could alter many lives. Maya began publishing the findings carefully, ensuring anonymity and safety. News outlets picked up threads connecting executives to offshore accounts and illegal dealings. Social media buzzed with speculation. Ethan watched from his apartment, anxiety gnawing at him. The exposure was real, the network destabilized, but danger lingered. Emails and anonymous calls hinted at retaliation. Still, seeing truth emerge, feeling justice start to take shape, gave him fragile hope. He realized that courage was not absence of fear, but acting despite it. Tonight, victory was partial, but momentum had shifted. In the following days, the city trembled with unfolding scandals. Boardrooms emptied as executives resigned or were questioned. Ethan kept a low profile, observing reactions while checking for any signs of pursuit. Maya coordinated interviews and evidence leaks with caution. Despite the tension, Ethan felt the tide of justice rising. He reflected on how a single decision had cascaded into profound consequences. Lives would change, both positively and negatively. Though fear remained, so did determination. Courage had sparked accountability, and exposure, once unimaginable, was now unavoidable. A mysterious message appeared on Ethan's encrypted phone. Someone offered protection and additional intel, but demanded secrecy and collaboration. Ethan paused, debating trust and risk. He weighed the benefits of deeper insight against potential compromise. The city outside was alive, indifferent to individual fear, yet every shadow reminded him that power would fight back. He breathed deeply, realizing the next choice could either cement their victory or expose them to peril. With determination, he replied cautiously, stepping further into a world where vigilance, courage, and strategy would define survival. By nightfall, Ethan and Maya met briefly in a hidden cafe. Whispers of strategy and trust passed between them, framed by flickering candlelight. They discussed next moves, aware enemies could be near. Every glance and gesture conveyed urgency. The city hummed outside, unaware of their secret maneuvering. They left separately, blending into the night, their connection a fragile lifeline. Ethan walked alone, realizing that courage now required constant vigilance. The fight for truth had evolved, and survival depended on stealth, strategy, and unshakable resolve. This was only the beginning of a larger battle. Ethan felt the city's pulse differently tonight. Every streetlight seemed sharper, every shadow deeper. A clandestine meeting awaited in an abandoned warehouse, the final step toward exposing the remaining corrupt figures. Fear knotted his stomach, yet resolve burned brighter. He checked his equipment, confirming all digital traces were secure. Maya arrived silently, her eyes steady. Together, they would confront both the truth and those willing to kill to bury it. Every heartbeat echoed the stakes. The moment of reckoning had arrived, and hesitation could mean the end. Inside the warehouse, shadows danced along concrete walls as they navigated carefully. The corrupt executives waited, confident yet unprepared. Ethan's heart pounded, adrenaline sharpening every sense. He activated the hidden cameras and microphones, ensuring evidence capture. Maya signaled silently, and they moved with precision. Time stretched as confrontations neared. Every sound, every step could betray them. The air thickened with tension, but courage propelled them forward. Tonight, the law and truth would meet deception, and the outcome could change the city forever. Confrontation erupted suddenly. Executives lunged toward hidden exits, unaware of cameras capturing their every move. Ethan and Maya moved swiftly, recording conversations and uncovering hidden documents. Threats flew, voices echoed, and fear clashed with determination. Yet, despite the chaos, the duo remained focused, methodical. Every second mattered. Evidence was secured. The corrupt network could no longer manipulate shadows without consequence. In the midst of danger, Ethan realized that courage and preparation had turned fear into power. The final act of exposure had begun. By dawn, the warehouse fell silent. Police arrived, guided by digital evidence Ethan and Maya had transmitted anonymously. Executives were apprehended, some resisting, others stunned. Ethan and Maya stood outside, exhausted yet relieved, watching justice unfold. The city was waking to a new reality. Truth had prevailed. They shared a quiet nod, understanding the cost of courage and secrecy. Though the battle was over, the memories and choices would linger. Their work had changed lives, and the ripple effect of integrity had only just begun. Weeks later, Ethan walked through the city, now quieter, yet vibrant with possibility. News outlets reported arrests, systemic changes, and reforms. Maya coordinated a new initiative for investigative transparency. Ethan reflected on the journey, the fear, choices, and resilience that led here. Courage had carried them through darkness, and truth had prevailed. Yet he knew vigilance was eternal. Every life touched by corruption required continued care. He inhaled deeply, feeling the city's pulse as both warning and promise. For Ethan and Maya, the fight had ended, but their commitment to justice remained unbroken. Weeks after the arrests, Ethan walked alone along the riverside, city lights reflecting in the water like scattered promises. The weight of past danger lingered, but a sense of calm prevailed. Maya's initiatives were gaining traction, creating transparency networks that inspired trust. Ethan reflected on their journey, the risks, the victories, and the friendships forged under pressure. Though the battles had ended, vigilance remained vital. Every step he took resonated with the knowledge that justice demanded commitment beyond headlines. The city felt alive, yet fragile, its future now partially in their hands. Maya joined Ethan as dawn broke over the city, painting buildings in soft gold. They shared a quiet moment of triumph, aware that their actions had sparked a movement. Reports of reform and transparency initiatives were spreading. Citizens began to feel empowered rather than fearful. Ethan felt pride mixed with humility, realizing the journey was larger than any single person. The city had changed, and so had they. Together, they could shape this momentum into lasting progress. In that golden light, hope was tangible, yet the horizon reminded them that vigilance and courage were never optional. Ethan visited the newsroom where he once exposed secrets, feeling nostalgia and pride. Young journalists were training under Maya's guidance, learning the ethics of investigation and the power of evidence. His presence was quiet but affirming. Conversations about truth, accountability, and courage filled the space. The city was slowly healing, the scars visible but fading. Ethan realized that legacies were built not just through actions, but through empowering others to continue the fight. The future of justice was not in one pair of hands, but in many. And that knowledge brought peace. In the city park, Ethan and Maya observed children playing, and citizens gathering in open spaces. The atmosphere was lively, a stark contrast to the tense nights of investigation. Conversations, laughter, and music filled the air. They shared quiet smiles, knowing their work had created safety and opportunity for ordinary lives. For Ethan, it was a moment of pure reflection, seeing the impact beyond headlines and arrests. Maya suggested new community outreach programs, and Ethan nodded, understanding that change was ongoing, built one action at a time. Their journey was not over. It had evolved. As evening descended, Ethan and Maya stood on a city bridge, lights shimmering on the river below. They reflected on how far they had come, aware that vigilance, courage, and integrity remained crucial. Their partnership had endured trials, and the city had gained a new sense of accountability. Ethan inhaled deeply, letting the night air remind him that every challenge faced had built resilience and wisdom. The skyline glowed with possibility. Together, they embraced the unknown future, knowing they had changed it for the better. Justice had won tonight, and the journey of guardianship continued. Months had passed since the city had embraced transparency reforms. Ethan Miller walked through the old industrial district, now transformed into a vibrant hub of startups and community centers. The air carried a faint scent of coffee and street food, blending with the earthy smell of revitalized brick buildings. Citizens moved with purpose, laughter echoing against metal facades. Maya's programs had fostered mentorship, resilience, and civic engagement. Ethan noticed how the city had adapted, its heartbeat steadier, more confident. Yet beneath the surface, subtle undercurrents of tension remained. Not all alliances were permanent, not every opponent defeated. The challenge of maintaining justice and vigilance persisted, now intertwined with the daily rhythm of ordinary lives. He paused at a mural depicting a phoenix rising, a symbol of rebirth, realizing that their journey had transformed them, too, making them resilient, cautious, and ready for whatever came next. Maya joined Ethan near a bustling co-working space where young leaders brainstormed social initiatives. She carried folders with new proposals, her eyes sparkling with determination. Ethan admired her energy, realizing the fight for justice had evolved into something sustainable. They walked along narrow streets, adorned with graffiti and street art, discussing strategies to prevent corruption from regaining footholds. Each conversation reinforced their shared mission: vigilance, integrity, and education. Citizens no longer feared authority, but embraced participation. Yet Ethan noticed a subtle unease in some corners, whispers of power struggles emerging. He understood that peace was fragile and progress demanded constant attention. Their partnership was now both symbolic and operational, bridging the gap between courage in the past and strategy for the future. Later, Ethan entered a city council meeting where citizens were invited to propose reforms. The room buzzed with conversation, and young leaders passionately advocated for change. Ethan observed quietly, taking in every nuance of dialogue, body language, and tone. Maya presented an initiative that combined technology with transparency, earning nods and murmurs of approval. Ethan felt a mix of pride and reflection. Their earlier actions had seeded this moment, yet they were only stewards, not rulers. Justice required continuous nurturing. As debates unfolded, Ethan noted subtle tensions between established powers and new voices. Their vigilance now extended beyond law enforcement. It required foresight, diplomacy, and moral courage. Each decision carried weight, and he understood that shaping the city's future demanded wisdom as much as bravery. That evening, Ethan and Maya returned to the riverside, a place that had witnessed both their struggles and triumphs. The water shimmered under streetlights, reflecting the city's evolving skyline. They discussed the subtle dangers of complacency, the need to mentor emerging leaders, and how to instill resilience in the next generation. Maya's eyes reflected determination and hope. Ethan felt a renewed sense of purpose. Their journey had moved from survival to stewardship. The city now relied not only on their vigilance, but also on their ability to inspire others to uphold justice. Ethan realized that leadership was an ongoing responsibility, requiring patience, insight, and adaptability. As they walked in silence, the rhythmic sound of flowing water reminded them that time moved forward relentlessly. and the fight for justice was a river that never truly stopped. As night fell, Ethan and Maya stood on a high bridge, overlooking the city illuminated by countless lights. Their journey had transformed the urban landscape and themselves. They shared a quiet acknowledgement of challenges yet to come, aware that their work was never truly finished. Every citizen empowered, every corruption revealed, and every young leader inspired was a victory in a continuous struggle. Ethan felt the weight of responsibility, yet also the exhilaration of possibility. They understood that justice was not a destination, but a living, evolving pursuit. The skyline glimmered with hope, the river below whispered continuity, and the city breathed with resilience. Together, they embraced their evolving legacy, ready to guide the next chapter with courage, wisdom, and unwavering commitment.